Okay, hey everybody. In Lab 9, we are continuing with statistical inference. In Lab 8, we used dependent samples, right? Because your word search results were dependent for the two trials. In Lab 9, we're going to use independent sample design, an independent sample design. We're going to see that the trials should have no effect on each other. Same process, same conclusions, same steps for the results, but now we're doing independent samples. Okay, so you're going to have two different groups of tissues. We're going to have two brands. We want to see if breaking strength significantly differs between the two brands. So we're going to have a bargain brand and then a name brand. This is very similar to the taste test lab where you tasted name brand cookies and then the bargain brand cookies. This is very similar. We're testing average breaking strength for two different brands. And we're doing average, so we're still working with means. We're comparing the means of two different groups. Because the bargain brand and the name brand have no relationship with each other, we're going to be using independent samples. The breaking strength of the bargain brand does not influence the breaking strength of the name brand. So these are independent samples. Okay, in this lab especially, you should be working in a group. It'll make the process go a lot quicker. The setup is in the lab manual. This is everything you'll need. You're going to basically set up an embroidery hoop. You're going to set a tissue down. You're going to set up the tissue. You're going to place fishing weights on the tissue to see how many weights it takes to break the tissue. Once the tissue breaks, you will count the number of fishing weights that it took to break it, and that will be the breaking strength. So if you place 8 weights on the tissue and then it finally breaks, the breaking strength is 8 fishing weights. The more fishing weights you can place, the stronger that tissue is. Okay, you're going to randomize the order of tissues. You'll do 15 trials for the bargain brand, 15 for the name brand, and you need to randomize that order. You're going to follow the steps in the lab manual to actually set up this process. Be careful when placing weights. You don't want to throw a weight down because then that's obviously going to influence if the tissue breaks or not. So just be careful. It should just be the fishing weights and not how you place the weights. When the tissue finally does break, that is your breaking strength. Count how many weights were placed. We want to see if the average breaking strength differs between the two products. Does the name brand have a higher breaking strength? Is it more sturdy? Does it take more to actually rip or tear the tissue? And also, you need to make each tissue single ply. So if they come as 2 ply, make sure you separate the two tissues. You will input your data into table 9.1 and then place that into StatCrunch. You're using software for this lab as well. Sometimes we pool variances. So in some classes you talk about variance, sometimes you don't. Variance is just another measure of variation. It's very similar to the standard deviation. If the standard deviation is lowercase s, the variance is just s squared. So you take your standard deviation, you square it, you get the variance. I know in my class we are not talking about variance, but it's just another measure of variation. Here's a rule of thumb if you should check equal variances. That will just change your results a little bit if you do use that. Let's say for the bargain brand, your variance is 10. If for the name brand, the variance is 19, then you would want to check equal variances because 10 times 2 is 20, 19 is less than 20, less than twice the smaller variance. However, if variance 1 is 10 and variance 2 is 24, you would want to use unequal variances. Okay, same as lab 9. You're going to get a confidence interval for the difference of the two means and do a hypothesis test, a t-test, right? We're comparing the average breaking strength between name brand and bargain brand. So same thing, check your confidence interval, see if it contains 0. If it contains 0, the breaking strength, the average breaking strength could be the same. If it's negative or entirely positive, we know those conclusions. Those are in the lecture recall. Same inference. And then you will also do a hypothesis test. So check your p-value. If your p-value is less than alpha, what does that tell us? If the p-value is greater than alpha, what does that tell us? By lab 9, we should be comfortable with hypothesis testing and confidence intervals. And you definitely need to be practicing the phrasing of your conclusion because on exams, we are very picky with the phrasing for these. Okay, but it's the same steps. Okay.